Hello everyone, welcome back to the Lochknits Knitting Podcast. My name is Haley. I am a tattoo artist, crafter, knitter, crocheter, spinner, and sewist coming to you from Northeast Pennsylvania in the United States. Today I have something a little different. I talked a little bit on the last episode about the idea of making a Rhinebeck tips video, a video about preparing for Rhinebeck. This will be my fourth year, third or fourth or fifth, fourth? I'm not sure. My friends and I have been to the New York Sheep and Wool Festival so many times that we have so many tidbits, pieces of information, tips and tricks that we have learned along the way, and I thought it would be super fun to share them in a video with you guys for anyone who may be going to Rhinebeck for the first time, or if this is your second time and you're feeling like you want to be a little bit more prepared in advance, or if you are a seasoned New York Sheep and Wool attendee and just want to get in the spirit for some seriously incredible yarn festival vibes. So first things first, before I get into this video, I do just want to give a huge disclaimer that this is my personal experience with the New York Sheep and Wool Festival. Your mileage may vary. You might fully disagree with any of these things that I mention here on this video. This is just meant to be lighthearted and fun. I would not take any of this as gospel. I stick pretty true to these tips. There's nothing that like I would stray from when I think about planning for my Rhinebeck trip, but there's always room for other people to have different experiences. If you do have your own tips or tricks or anything that I've missed, please leave them in the comments below. I love being able to get excited for this time of year. There's so much going on. There's so many reasons to be so stoked to go spend time with your friends, pet some sheep, do some shopping. We get so excited for the festival. I know my friends and I have already started watching Rhinebeck videos from years past, so I hope that you guys can sit back, pick up your little crafting project, and let's dive into these tips. So I have three categories of tips today. The first category is things that you should do ahead of time. The second category is for activities or things you might need to collect the day of. The third category is for while you're at the festival itself, just some things to keep in mind while you're taking it all in. The first tip, and maybe the most obvious, is that you can buy your tickets ahead of time. I just purchased my tickets this morning. I will put a link in the description box below to the page where if you scroll halfway down, you will find the link that will take you into the ticket manager. Advanced tickets for Rhinebeck this year in our year 2024 are $13.50 US. They are delivered electronically via email, so it makes it super easy. Day of, you just pull up your email, they're already there, ready to go. I will say, just from going for so many years, if you forget this step, if you get to the Dutchess County Fairgrounds and you realize you have no cell service and you're freaking out, don't worry, you can totally buy them that day. It's not like an event that sells out. We've seen plenty of years where the line to buy the tickets right then and there is actually much shorter than the line to have your tickets that you've already purchased scanned to get in. If you are an over planner, or you are worried about cell service, or you just want to have that piece of your budget already accounted for, you can buy them in advance, and again, the link to that will be in the description box below. My second tip is actually a two-part tip. So the first part is to make a list of the things that you want to look for at Rhinebeck. It doesn't have to be a prepared list. It doesn't have to be done side by side with the list of all the vendors that are going to be there. Just some things, going through your stash, going through your wish list, your yarny fiber wants, anything that you have been like yearning or searching for. Make a list of those things. There's something about being inundated with the beauty and the magical nature of a yarn festival that makes your brain totally turn into mush. I know for a fact that every single year I get there and I immediately forget anything that I didn't write down on a hard and fast list on my phone. I can't remember the names of colorways. I can't remember fiber types. As soon as I get there every year, I always immediately forget what it is that I'm looking for, and anything that's not on my list does not get purchased throughout the day. The second part, tip number 3, is to know your quantities. Obviously, for individual patterns, every pattern is going to require different yarn, different fiber, but everybody pretty much has a range of number of skeins that it takes for them to complete a project. If I'm looking for yarn, I tend to buy mostly, almost if not exclusively, fingering weight yarn. I know that it takes 3 100-gram skeins of yarn to get me into a sweater, 2 for a shawl, and 1 for a pair of socks or a small scarf, a hat, something on the accessory side. It is really nice to have a list, especially if you're thinking about doing any shopping for gift making for the holiday months. It's always good to have numbers to be prepared in advance. I would say, just as a bonus tip to this, keep in mind that when it comes to buying yarn at a festival, it's not always easy to find that same yarn if you need more of it in the future. So as you're compiling your list and putting together the number of skeins it takes for you to make a project, definitely err on the side of caution and plan to buy more yarn for a project if you are shopping for project specific quantities of yarn. My next tip may seem superfluous to some of you guys who are going in smaller groups, but I assure you, you're going to want to try this ahead of time. Before you leave your house or while you're standing in line to get in the doors and you're standing with your friends, you guys are taking pictures, you're getting excited to go into the festival, share your location with your friends in advance. This is a modern benefit that I feel like so many of us forget about, but I know from the iPhone perspective that I can share my location with anybody I choose to, and it can really narrow down exactly what part of the fairgrounds you're at when you inevitably get separated from your group or from your friends. It seems silly, especially if you're going in just a group of two. How can I get separated? How could I get lost? Why would someone need my location? You would be surprised. There are so many different moments and points throughout the day where you'll see something, your friend's checking out, you don't know if there's gonna be enough time to go get it, so you just run really quick across the barn, and then all of a sudden you look back, your friend's gone. Just share your location with anybody who might need to know it. Sometimes there can be multiple steps to approve the sharing of the location and things like that. So just leave ample time to do that with anyone who will definitely need to know where you are across the fairgrounds. My last 2 points are actually related to fashion, to fit. If you guys have not heard, there is a beautiful, magical trend involved in going to the New York Sheep and Wool Festival where everyone makes a Rhinebeck outfit, usually manifesting itself as a special Rhinebeck sweater that you knit for the occasion or something special that you plan on wearing to show off for the day while we're shopping and hanging out. And for the sake of this point, I do want to talk specifically about Rhinebeck sweaters. As someone who has been at Rhinebeck and been incredibly cold, feel like I'm freezing my fingers off, and on the other side, so warm, I'm peeling layers off. I cannot get enough of this wool like off my body. Upstate New York in middle of October is a cruel mistress. Even if you think you have a grasp on what the weather is going to be like, it can honestly change day to day. We've started doing a sort of weather check-in with our friends. We're kind of live updating as the weather changes, especially for our friends that are going to be driving in from the other side of the state to meet up with us. They have to do more planning in advance. So it's super important to feel like you have some sort of grasp on your layers and what you want your outfit to really be. One of the things that I brought up to my friend group is a Rhinebeck sweater that works for me may not work for someone else in the group. So for example, when I get cold, I find my hands and my feet and my lower parts of my limbs get cold first. If you are someone who needs a lot of warmth at your core, you might not care as much about having full-length sleeves or fingerless mittens, or if you're someone who needs a lot of warmth bundled up like close to your face, you might need to pack a shawl or a special cowl or something that you can add on in case you become too cold or if you need to take it off and you're too hot. Really try to think about inclement weather, how the rain or the wind can impact you. You're gonna be shopping, having a lot of bags on you at all times, taking some pictures, referencing different things on your phone. Are your hands gonna get cold? Are your feet gonna get cold? Do you need to knit a last minute pair of leg warmers like I did for Maryland Sheep and Wool? These are just things to consider. There's no right or wrong answer. Even though we think about our Rhinebeck sweater being the absolute pinnacle piece of our outfit for the weekend, don't forget about all of those awesome accessories you have. Hand knit socks, towels, scarves, leg warmers, fingerless gloves, full mittens, hats, bandanas. All of these things have their place. It just depends on you personally, where you feel you get cold, what types of layers you plan on adding or taking away to really regulate your temperature. My last piece of advice is probably the most non-negotiable. Before you go to Rhinebeck, if you haven't already, you should invest in a pair of rain boots. When I started going to Rhinebeck, rain boots seemed like such a silly expense. I had no plans of wearing rain boots, and it was my friends that actually guilted me into buying a pair. Rain boots are so important. I know they are not always the most fashionable, especially thinking about how much time and energy we put into our outfits and our sweaters. Rain boots don't always complement every look or every outfit, but they are incredibly necessary. If you have never been to Rhinebeck before, let me paint this picture for you. When you drive into the fairgrounds, you will be directed by a parking attendant to pull your car into an enormous grassy lot. Whether it's raining in that moment or whether it rained an hour ago, there is going to be grass and dirt and mud that's going to get all over your shoes, because you do have a little bit of a hike from the parking area to the entrance of the fairgrounds. Whether or not we've had perfect weather or it's been incredibly dry, you will get covered in dust and dirt and mud, even when it's totally dry outside. Can't forget that we are gonna be outside almost all day. All of these things from the ground, the dirt, the dust, does get kicked up onto your clothes at some point. I will put a link in the description box below for the specific pair of rain boots that me and all of my friends purchased off of Amazon. They were not expensive. I definitely thought I was gonna buy them and they were gonna fall apart after I wore them a few times. They've held up well for many years. They're actually incredibly comfortable to be able to walk around the fairgrounds in all day. If you do have trouble with shoes or you want extra support for all the walking around that you're gonna do, I would definitely recommend getting a pair of insoles to try with your rain boots in advance of the festival. Especially if you plan on going to Rhinebeck year over year or more than one yarn festival, I would absolutely recommend a pair of rain boots. Like I said, I thought that they were going to be totally useless when I first bought them, and it was honestly the best 50 bucks I ever spent. All right, so now we're gonna get into tips for the day of Rhinebeck. It is the morning, you wake up super early, your friends are texting each other, you're gonna meet up and get ready to carpool over to the Dutchess County Fairgrounds. There's a few things you're gonna wanna do that morning. My first recommendation, and I know this is different for everybody, but do some planning ahead to bring multiple forms of payment. We are definitely in a beautiful modern era where so many vendors take Venmo or PayPal or other digital forms of payment. A lot of people bring Square card readers to the event to be able to take credit card purchases. I have been at Rhinebeck when the credit card machines are down. It does happen. It's very rare, and usually it gets fixed in a matter of minutes. Having a variety of cash, card, a little bit of money in your Venmo account, something in your PayPal, just to be able to have some wiggle room. It's not only good for you to have some flexibility and not worry about one payment working over the other, but it's also easier for the vendors. Some people just do not want to deal with cash. Other vendors will give you a small discount if you pay in cash. Everybody's different. I can definitely speak to the fact that having variety is better than not. My next 4 tips actually go all in one. These are some items you're going to want to bring with you for the day of Rhinebeck. The first one is to bring a shopping bag. At least one. I know a lot of knitters and crocheters are huge fans of the Baggu bags. I'll put a link in the description box below to some Baggu options. They are basically just sturdy plastic reusable totes that fold up very nicely into a small little square that you can tuck into your bag or to your purse. Some vendors will be selling their own tote bags that you can buy, but it's always good to come prepared for those first small purchases of the day to be ready to throw them into a shopping bag. A lot of vendors do not provide bags because so many people bring their own. You just don't want to be caught with a ton of items and not a lot of places to put them. The next thing you're going to want to bring is hand sanitizer. As with any sort of fairgrounds or festival where there's a large group of people and farm animals, there are many times throughout the day that you're not gonna have access to a sink and to hand soap to be able to wash your hands thoroughly. And I can tell you that all of us in my friend group have pulled out the tiny little Bath & Body hand sanitizers, put them on our bags, just getting ready to go for the day, because there's a ton of beautiful things that you're gonna wanna touch and feel and experience, and you're not gonna wanna keep them on your hands. So definitely do not skip out on the hand sanitizer. At least one person in your group should be in charge of hand sanitizer options throughout the day. And speaking of groups of people going to Rhinebeck together, I am actually bringing something different to Rhinebeck that I've never brought before. I have recently made a throw quilt to be able to take to fiber festivals, to outdoor events. We find ourselves in these big groups of friends living our best lives at all these different yarn festivals we go to throughout the year. And it never fails that with such a large group, it can be difficult to find somewhere to sit down, eat your lunch, sit down, have a break, just take a moment to chill. So I decided to take all my orphan blocks and sew them together and make a really scrappy, scrubby quilt. It's going to be a picnic quilt of sorts. It is at the Long Armor right now, so I will follow up with you guys in the next episode with a full display of our scrubby festival quilt. It is not beautiful and it's not perfect, but I did back the quilt with some textured kind of canvas fabric that I had in my stash. And I really think it's gonna be like the perfect quilt to be able to throw out on the ground, give us somewhere to have a little picnic. If you are coming with a group or if you're coming with just one other person, it might not be a bad idea to have a throw blanket in your car or something that you can roll up really tightly and shove in your bag to be able to take into the fairground so that you can spread out and have a place to just sit and take a break. My last tip for the day of, for things that you're gonna wanna pack to take with you, is to bring fingerless mittens. You heard me talk earlier about planning your Rhinebeck fit, thinking about where you get cold first. And one of the things that I found, no matter where you get cold, no matter what part of yourself you want to bundle up and keep warm or take off, fingerless mittens really are the way to go to stay warm when you need to, and they're the easiest thing to pull off if you start to feel yourself becoming too warm. There are so many different free fingerless mitten patterns out there in the universe. There's a lot of incredible crochet patterns out there that you could definitely whip up in just a few days. If you're watching this with a little time to spare, I would definitely recommend anybody going to Rhinebeck, regardless of the temperature, to pack a pair of fingerless mittens. They're easy to throw on and take off. They're a fun little pop of pizzazz or pop of color to go with your Rhinebeck fit, and really everybody can benefit from having a pair. All right, we've got 4 more hot tips to go. We are now moving on to our last section. This section is all about the festival itself. And honestly, I don't have many things to say. These tips that I'm gonna share with you are really just from me doing the festival all of these years, forgetting to do some things, over prioritizing others. Again, your mileage may vary. If you've done any research about the New York Sheep and Wool Festival, you will probably have heard about the apple cider donuts. If you want to get apple cider donuts, if that's like a must-have for you for this year's Rhinebeck Yarn Sheep Wool Festival, you're in it for the donuts. Go in as soon as you enter the fairgrounds, go get your donuts. The line is long from the time the doors open to the time that everybody goes home. There's not a really good time to get the donuts, but the line does move quickly. So if that's something you're really zoomed in on, just go for it first thing. People who work in the apple cider donut booth are moving and shaking. They know how busy and crazy it gets. So they really do move through the line incredibly quickly, but you are gonna be standing there for at least a few minutes. Plus, it is a delicious breakfast, an incredible way to start your day. The next piece of advice that's probably not helpful to anyone is that the merch line for the New York Sheep and Wool Festival specific merchandise is always long. It's always long no matter what. So if you don't know where the merch booth is, it's one of the first big tents that you'll see when you come into the fairgrounds. It's at the very bottom of the hill, usually right across from the restrooms and from the hill that starts the food trucks and concessions area. The line for the merch tent is always long. It does take a little bit to go through the merch tent. Basically, the format of it is that people will funnel through a line and they'll see all the products that are available. And as they're walking through, they'll ask someone working the tent to snag them a t-shirt or a hand towel or whatever it is that they're gonna be buying in their size. And then at the very end, they are ringing people out. Just because of the nature of like how that is done, there's not really an easier way to do it. It is always long. If you like the design for this year's New York Sheep and Wool Festival, I'll put a picture of it here. I would definitely carve out time in your day to visit the merch tent because the stuff they sell there is so cute. I know in years past they have hoodies and t-shirts and little embroidered like denim button-ups and everything, like just absolutely adorable. Well worth it if you're interested in it, but just plan to be standing around for a little bit. My next tip I can speak to from the utmost experience. I get bamboozled by this almost every single year. One of the awesome parts of the festival is that not only is there yarn and fiber, merch and food stands and all different kinds of things to spend your day looking at, there's also an entire building dedicated to food. They sell barbecue sauce, hot sauce, chocolate, different little like take-home snacks and treats and things like that from local vendors around the New York area. I can't remember what their name is, but I definitely buy wine from the same vendor year after year. It's awesome. It is locally made. It's just a really like fun little souvenir for me to take home each year. My tip as it relates to the building where they sell the little treats is to wait to purchase until you are about to leave. I have carried multiple bottles of wine around the New York Sheep and Wool Festival. It is brutal. They're not gonna run out of stuff. No one's gonna go home early. Just wait until you're on the way out. It is on the way back down the hill as you're exiting the fairgrounds. Do not buy a bunch of heavy food or wine or bottled hot sauces. Like, all of that stuff can wait. Don't be carrying that around. You do not want the weight of it on your shoulders, and you definitely don't want it to explode in your bag. Again, I can tell you from experience, it's better to just wait till you're on the way out. My final tip for Rhinebeck and for any yarn festival is do not spend all day on your phone. Every year, it never ever fails, we see a ton of people all day long constantly texting, uploading things to social media. We're all on Instagram, we're all on the internet all the time. Just take the day to be with your friends, to really like drink it all in. It is such a beautiful, wonderful experience. It's awesome to have photos of the trip when you come home. It's even better to have the memories and to be present in the day. If you have someone in your group who loves taking pictures and always has their phone in their hand, they're always getting the best candid shots, put them in charge. Have them take photos for the day. Then when you get home, you can airdrop or text everybody the photos and compare what everyone got. Don't spend all day on your phone. You are there to have fun, to shop, to enjoy and engage in the community. And I think that's something that we all need to be reminded of, including me. If you've made it to this point in the video, I appreciate you watching. Please leave your comments and your feedback down below. Again, your mileage may vary, your experience may be different. This will be my last video before I see everybody at the New York Sheep and Wool Festival. I will be at Rhinebeck this year. If you see me and you watch the podcast or we talk online, or if you just want to come up and say hi, please do so. I love meeting everybody in person. I usually try to bring stickers with me so I can like dish some out during the festival, but it's honestly my favorite part of podcasting is being able to see everybody in person, check out what everyone else is doing, and really get a chance to meet everybody one-on-one. Thank you again for watching. I'll see you in New York. Bye.